Okay, family, welcome again to FBA All Day, the show all about justice and understanding for our people. I am the Lord Eric Steele, aka Big Rossi Love, perpetual student of the survival scrolls, where if you know, you know. Today's episode comes from an email sent in with this question. It says, how do you feel about the Rick Chow verdict? Okay. Rick Chow was the Asian store owner who shot that poor boy, Cyrus, in the back down in South Carolina. And you know, I like to go through these cases and make the points that need to be made, the points that are irrelevant that you should focus on. I'll let you understand that. After reading what happened, this unfortunate incident, after seeing the way they treated our young brother, we have to consider this guy, this Rick Chow gentleman. He's of Asian descent. I want to say Chinese. I'm not 100% about that because that doesn't really matter to me where he came from. What matters to me is that he took the life of a black child, a 14-year-old. There's so many different videos going around about how they were moving inside that store. They were stalking him. His wife was following the boy. The son was following the boy. And after all that following him around in the store, they still got it wrong. They still got it wrong. They both were under the impression for some reason that that boy stole from their store. Now, and that's a very deep observation, okay? First of all, you have to ask yourself, why were they following him around in the store in the first place? That mindset. And I've talked to you guys about this before. These people who come over here, these people who come from other countries, they come over here and instead of, even though they're considered minorities, they go under the guise. They go under the understandings of the dominant society. They want to be counted amongst the dominant society instead of coming in and actually making this alliance that we've considered through the years. How many times have we heard there's a minority coalition, there's yellow and brown is with the black, and this is just simply not the case. Time after time, we find this not to be the case. These people have a different mindset. They don't come over here with any inclination as to helping anybody else but themselves. And that alone, as bad as it is, would be one thing. If they just came over here and did their thing and helped their people, that would be one thing. But they don't do that. That's not what they do. Not all of them. And I do say not all because, as I said many times before, let me reiterate, all of anybody is not the same thing. So I won't throw everybody in the same boat. But it's far too many of them for us to turn a blind eye to what's happening to us. And I'll give you a few examples on this episode. I'll give you a few examples of these people coming over here and joining in the rhetoric and the mindset of the dominant society. They don't come over here and just assimilate and join in what we have going on. They come over here and go against us. They believe that all black people are stealing. They believe that all black people inherently are bad. That's what they believe. They literally believe that. And you can question what I'm saying, but look at what they're doing. You don't have to hear what I'm saying. Watch the video of them following that boy around the store. You don't find no video of them following no white people around in that store. You won't see that video because that video doesn't exist. But you'll see the video of them following him around in the store. She watched him from the counter. She got down. She walked down the aisle. Her son was watching him on the other side. They was hawking all over that boy like he was the criminal from the beginning. That was their mindset. That's the way they think about us. And there's so many different variations of this story, but I can tell you the parts that are true, that are key. The first part is he didn't steal anything. He didn't steal anything. That's the first part. That's a fact. That's true. Read the transcripts. Read the story. Do whatever you need to do. Read the truth. Don't follow what people say on the internet because people are going to tell you the variations that make their narratives work. But this is a fact. He didn't steal anything. He didn't steal a bottle of water. He didn't steal that. Even if it did cost $1, he didn't take it, so it doesn't matter. Here's part two that you should know. They said he had a gun. Okay. When he was running, the gun fell out of his pocket. There's video of the gun falling in the parking lot while he was running. So when that son said that the boy pointed the gun at him, that's a lie. I'll slow down in case you can't hear me. The son sat on the stand in this trial and said that boy pointed a gun at him, so he was scared for his life. That's a lie. That's a big lie. Now we have to ask ourselves, the police, the DA, all of these people have had this video the whole time. They've had this video, the same video I saw. So why did they allow that boy to get on stand and lie? Why did they allow him to get on the stand and tell that bold lie? That boy never pointed a gun at him. He dropped the gun while he was running. So what gun did he point at this dude? I'll slow down. There's video of Cyrus running from the store. There's video of the gun falling on the ground. So while he was running, did he point the gun at Mr. Chow's son? Gun can't be in two places at one time. And he wasn't even holding the gun. The gun fell out of his pocket. So when did he point it at the boy? So that's just a lie. So he went on stand, he took an oath, and then he lied. He lied. And when he yelled to his father, he said he has a gun. He didn't say he pointing a gun at me. He just said he has a gun. I'm not justifying him having a gun. That's irrelevant. He didn't point the gun at nobody. Whether or not he had the gun is irrelevant. That's people looking for an excuse to kill a baby. That's just an excuse for them to kill a baby. That's all that is. Well, Eric, make that plain, Lord. All right, let me explain. Do you remember Kyle Rittenhouse? Do you remember Kyle Rittenhouse? How old was Kyle Rittenhouse? I'll wait. How old was Kyle Rittenhouse? He wasn't no adult, was he? Wasn't he 16? Walking around with an AR-15? These same people that's talking crazy about this boy ain't got no business with a gun, where were they when Kyle Rittenhouse was running around with an AR-15? You didn't hear from them. Those are just, I call those people racist. That's all that is. That's all that, that's the, what's good for them is not good for you. That's that crowd. It's okay for them to do it, but you don't do it. That's that crowd. So when you see these reiterations and people trying to stand on that, ask yourself those same questions. Where were they during the Kyle Rittenhouse trial? Because he had the right to defend himself. That's what they told us. They told us Kyle Rittenhouse had every right to walk around with an AR-15 and defend himself, even though nobody pointed a gun at him. The first two people Kyle Rittenhouse killed, they didn't even have weapons. But he had the right to defend himself. That's what they told us. Can't be both ways. You can't have it both ways. So the people who try to say, oh, well, that boy shouldn't have had no gun, miss us with that. As long as you guys are okaying it for your people, don't try to double standard us. Don't turn around and try to double standard us, okay? We don't need it. Even if that boy had a gun, he didn't point it at anyone. That doesn't justify shooting somebody in the back. That doesn't justify shooting that boy in the back. Let's flip that story around, okay? So what you're saying is that if a white teenager goes inside a black-owned store and a black owner chases the boy out the store, even though he hadn't stole nothing, and he shoots the white child in the back and the child dies, you guys would have that same position? That would be the same position you take. What was that child doing with a gun? Is that the position we can expect you would take? I don't think so, in all honesty. I don't believe that you would. I don't believe that. When the first responders got there, when the ambulances got on site, they said that Mr. Chow he admitted to them that he never saw Cyrus point a gun. He said he never saw Cyrus pointing a gun. That's what Mr. Chow said. Well, if you didn't see him pointing a gun, why did you shoot that boy in the back? Why'd you shoot him in the back? And I'm still, this is my dilemma that I'm having with these cases. If a person is retreating, how do you feel threatened? You're chasing somebody who's obviously trying to go away from you. They're trying to flee from you. You can't possibly think you're in danger. How are you in danger if that person is running away? How are you in danger? How can your defense be self-defense if the person is leaving? How do you get a self-defense? You putting yourself in harm's way. You don't get a self-defense claim for that. That doesn't make any sense. And they only use that twisted, retarded logic when it comes to our people. They don't use that logic when it comes to themselves. They save those crazy things for us. You won't see a black person get off on self-defense for chasing after somebody and shooting them. Find me that case. Find the case where somebody was fleeing from a black person, the black person shot and killed them, and they got to claim self-defense. Find that case. You'll never find it because it won't happen. First of all, we're not cowardly enough to shoot anybody in the back. That's the first thing. That's a coward move. They murdered that baby. I'm kind of curious as to what his father is thinking. What is Cyrus's father thinking? Another man and his son shot your innocent son in the back. And I say innocent because he didn't take anything. So if he didn't take anything, what were you chasing him for? That's worse than the Klan, if you ask me. The boy didn't do anything. He didn't have a weapon, not when you shot him, because he had already dropped it. He dropped it in the parking lot. So why did you shoot him in the back? How is that not murder? How did they not bring this up during the trial? They saved these special verdicts for our people. These verdicts that don't make any cotton picking sense. I guess they doing it to the right people, because I know some folks, if you take their child, they trying to take your whole bloodline, especially a son. I'm not sure how it will play out. You think you and your son are going to kill my son and then sit around and lie and make up stories and be around for another? No. I don't know what part of the world that, I don't know where we're coming from, what this place is heading to. It doesn't make any logical sense. This was an obvious lynching. They obviously hunted that boy down and murdered him. All of their defense is in the wind. First of all, he didn't steal anything. So why were you chasing him? Second of all, he dropped whatever gun he had, the pistol he had, it fell out of his pocket while he was running. So he wasn't holding it. It fell out of his pocket. Why did you shoot him in the back? Why would you shoot a child in the back? It all plays a part into this whole black and Asian thing that they want to press. Now, I'll tell you from the giddy up, I have a lot of Asian friends. Being a member of a military family, I have a lot of Asian friends. I know some Asian people. I have a good amount of Asian friends, friends from the Asian community, Filipinos, Chinese, a lot of Asian friends that I have, Japanese, you know what I mean? A lot of Asian friends. Everybody's not, don't think like this and don't move like that. I'll say that first and foremost. There's a lot of my friends do not move that way. They don't behave that way. But there's, just like in every sect, there is a group that wants to be among the dominant society. They think like the dominant society. They believe all the nonsense from the dominant society. There's Latinos like that. There's Asians like that. Heck, we even have some black people who behave that way. Sheriff Clark and Sheriff Bryant and those weirdos, they have that same mindset, that infected, poisonous mindset from the dominant society. Instead of doing their own research, they believe what's being told to them, however wrong it may be. And their viewpoints are always cockamamie and strewed because they have intertwined themselves into that other society. They want to be the do boy, if you will, or I'm better than the rest of them. Look at me, I'm doing better than, I'm not like them, I'm special somehow. But when the time comes for them to get their coming ups, they should be ostracized. And which brings me to another point. Remember about 5 years ago, about 4 or 5 years, maybe even 6 years ago, they had that Stop Black Asian Hate. Remember that? They even had a crime bill put together with Kamala Harris in them. Where are they now? Where are they when these instances and things keep happening to black people done to us by Asians? Where are those people now? We can't find them. They have nothing to say. There was a guy called Merlin Liu. Give you another instance of this same kind of nonsense. This kid, Merlin Liu, he went to a park in Chicago and set up a cross. First of all, stop right there and think to yourself, who's walking around with a big wooden cross? You know the efforts you have to take to make a cross? That's not something you just picked up magically. You didn't go to Harbor Freight or you didn't go to Lowe's and they had a cross sitting there. Okay? You didn't stop by Walmart and pick up a cross. A big 6-something foot wooden cross. Where did he even get that from? Where did he even get that? It took time. It took initiative to construct a cross, a wooden cross. Merlin Liu, he took it to a park. He took it to this park in Chicago, and he set the cross on fire. And for all my children who are too young to remember, I'll give you some interesting tidbits. Back in the days, in the early times during Jim Crow era, and in the era of the Ku Klux Klan, what they would do as a mode of intimidation, they would put a cross in front of somebody's house who they were targeting, and they would burn the cross in the night. So then when the people would come to the window or they'd look out to see what the light was or what's causing, the disturbance, and then they'd scream or they'd raid the house and kill the people, or they'd drag out whoever they were there looking for, and they'd leave that cross burning in the front yard. It's kind of like a calling card for the Klan, or marking, if you will. Sometimes they put it in the yard if you spoke out against somebody or you had something to say, a disagreement with the Caucasian or member of the dominant society. They would burn a cross in your yard during the night to kind of give you a warning to stay in your place. So the burning of the cross has a deep-seated hatred with our people. It has a deep meaning with our people. And this Asian person, who's not even from here, okay, is in our land that we have built. Foundational Black Americans built this country. He took it upon himself to drag a cross to a park and set it on fire. His name's Merlin Liu. Where's Kamala Harris? and that we got to protect the Asians. Where's Kamala Harris? Where's Olivia Munn? The one who's making all those little commercials about how they're so mistreated by us, like we're doing so much to them. Where are they now? Now that another Asian has killed another black child. Because this is not the first instance of this. This is a repeated occurrence. We can't find these people. Where is she? Wait, let me go on. There's another video circulating about this Asian landlord. He was having a dispute with some black tenants at his apartment complex. This landlord, he decided to call the police. And when he was on the phone with the police, he said, I think these people have a gun. They're in a car and they have a gun. Another lie. He hadn't seen no gun. When the police showed up, because the dispute was civil, not criminal, him having a dispute with his tenants, it's got nothing to do with the police. But this guy can barely speak the language, but knew enough to call the cops and mention that they had a gun. Where'd he get that from? Why would he say such a thing? Why would he make up such a thing? I wonder why there's Asian hate. I wonder where that comes from. When the cops came and they showed up at this dispute that was going on in this apartment complex, they asked the Asian guy, who said anything about a gun? Immediately, he lost all his faculties. He couldn't. What do you mean? Well, no. On the police statement, on the phone, you said somebody had a gun. Where did that come from? Who said anything about a gun? Where did you see a gun? He was praying and hoping for an assassination. That's what that was. He was hoping that the police would come in there guns blazing and murder more black people. That's what he was wishing for. And you can't tell me otherwise. Why would he even say gun? What made him tell the police on a 911 call that he thinks they have a gun? Where did he get that idea from? Here he is in our land amongst us, and he already knows enough to get a black person killed. Maybe a whole bunch of black people if they were in a car. What if the cops would have showed up guns blazing? Because based on his lie. And that's what it is. I'm not sugarcoating here. This is not hate speech. I'm not talking about all Asians, but I'm going to tell the truth. We tell the truth here. Get your feelings out of it. We're going to talk about the truth. That is called a lie. He didn't have to tell it, but he did. Nobody told him to tell it. He made it up on his own, and he made a false police report. He was on 911. That call is recorded. You can look it up right now and see if I'm lying. Go to YouTube and type in Asian landlord, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Asian landlord calls cops on black people. Go ahead and look that up. Nobody made him do that. He did that on his own. Nobody told him to lie. He pulled that out of his backside. It's either the truth or a lie. It can't be both. It can't be both. It's definitely not true because he didn't see no gun. It's definitely not true because they didn't have a gun. So then why did he say they had a gun? That's called a lie. Foundational black Americans, this is why we need to have our own hate crime bill instituted. For these type of things, for swatting calls. And because these things can get very, very deadly for us. All cops don't show up and ask questions. That's not the way they generally show up when they're dealing with us. And for our people to be falsely accused, whoever made that accusation need to be held accountable. At the very least, filing a false police report. At the very least. If it were up to me, they'd be charged with the crime they lying about. They should give him a gun charge for lying. A possession charge for lying. Because in his mind, he's nutty enough to do that. Apparently, he could get somebody killed doing that. Then when they ask him who said anything about a gun, all of a sudden he's confused. He don't know. They should have arrested him on the spot. If I was those people there, I would have asked them, can we press charges? He could have got somebody killed. During that whole fiasco with the Harris campaign, Kamala Harris, she condemned anti-Asian hate. She characterized it as an epidemic of hate. That's what she said. She said it's a fundamental threat to American values. That's what she said. She used her platform as vice president to speak out against xenophobic scapegoating and strongly advocated for legislation and systematic action for Asians. When it came to our people, foundational black Americans, oh no, she ain't gonna do nothing just for our people. No. That's what she said. She ain't doing nothing just for us. She went out of her way for them, though. Then they wonder why we didn't vote for her. I would never. We would never. She's not one of us. Stop inviting her kind to our cookout. She's not one of us, bro. And I'm looking for you, Olivia Munn. I'd love to hear her comment on these recent incidents with her Asian community that she always talking about as being so mistreated. They have the same mindset as the Klan. Now, tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that I'm wrong. Because I have facts. Lying, scheming, conniving, can really not tell the difference between them and a dominant society. If you ask me, they do the same things. There was a lot of talk about this boycott that they were having. Not really even a boycott. We just refused to visit their businesses. We refused to patronize their businesses. It's not really a boycott. And there was this one Asian guy who got on and made a whole bunch of comments, but they were so rudimentary. You guys, everything you need is from Asia. Yeah, that's true. And I will succeed that. There is a lot of stuff that we use that comes from China, but we don't have to buy that stuff from you. We don't have to buy it from you. We don't have to buy it from an Asian-owned facility. We don't have to buy it from you. Yeah, you make the shoes, but y'all make them for pennies on the dollar. We don't have to buy them from a Chinese outlet. We could buy them from somewhere else. So your little mind game or whatever you thought you were playing, that doesn't work. We see through that. Yeah, that doesn't trick us because the stuff we buy is made in China. What does that mean? That don't mean we bought it from there. Just because you manufacture it, it's sold in wholesale to wherever it's going. We don't have to patronize a Asian facility to get those goods, is my point. Because last time I checked, Foot Locker is not owned by an Asian person. Yeah, you make the sneakers, but you're not the person we're buying them from. You're not the people we're buying them from. It's got nothing to do with us. And it's got nothing to do with you. You make a lot of the goods that's in Walmart, but Asian people don't own Walmart. Yeah, so we don't have to patronize your shops. I would venture to say that my egg rolls rival anybody else's egg rolls. My family believes so. We don't need to go to your places of business. We patronize you guys because we patronize you guys. But once we see the mindset, I see you guys staying silent about the injustices that happen to our people and even committing some injustices against us. We don't have to patronize your businesses. We don't. You guys aren't that important to us. We don't have to. I've been stopped patronizing some other businesses anyways. We don't have to. We can circulate our money amongst our own community, and that's fine. It's fine for us, not so fine for you because I always find you guys not in your communities. Y'all come into our communities, get our dollars, and leave. You contribute nothing to our communities. We don't see nothing from you. Just because you delivered a service, that don't help our community. Because you did somebody's nails, you took the money from all those nail shops and you left. You didn't spend it with the black community. You siphoned that money out and you left. Oh, but there's black people who know how to do nails. They don't have to patronize your business. We don't have to patronize your business. There's plenty of foundational black Americans that know how to do nails. We was doing nails before y'all got here. Okay? We the one that made it nails fashionable in the first place. We're the ones that made nails fashionable. We're the ones that made it pop. We know how to do nails. How simple of you to think that you mean so much that if we don't do your business, we're going to fall off. Please. Please. You'll see. It brings to mind when you guys were, there was a group of Asian people who went to court and said, oh, they wanted to get rid of the onset that let the different groups get considered to be allowed or accepted into those Ivy League schools. The Asian people thought that black people were getting some kind of special break, which is how they got into the school. They were under the impression that the black people were given those spots instead of earning it. And when they joined the dominant society to get rid of those programs, the only people that wind up suffering was the Asians. The number of black applicants getting accepted into those schools did not drop at all. I don't hear Olivia Munn on that either. I can't find Olivia Munn on that part. Because the black children or the black foundational black American people that get into those Ivy League schools, they don't get into there by happenstance. They earn those spots. That too is proven. It's a fact. But why did the Asian numbers drop off? Because you guys believe the own nonsense. You believe the nonsense people are telling you. There's not some big generational or some wide void of intelligence between our groups of people. It just isn't. It's just a stereotype that you guys believe for some reason. But take this under your own advisement. If you see a black person in an Ivy League school, that person worked his butt off to get there. Nobody gave them no scholarship. That's not the way it happens. Not for our people. Now you have the dominant society getting in under legacy programs. But that's just a lie. Any story that somebody comes up to you and tells you how a black person was given a spot over somebody else, if that's just a lie. It's just a lie. And the numbers do not bear that out at all. You can't find me somebody. And if you do, give me a name. Name the person who got a scholarship to an Ivy League school that didn't deserve it. Find that black person. I challenge you. You're not going to find it because it doesn't exist. That's just a story that's tossed around amongst white supremacists that want to believe that we somehow get a break. That's just a racist person telling a racist story as far as I'm concerned, because it's not true. And we have the data to pull it out. Why did the damn Asian numbers drop and not the black people's drop? If that was the case. If our people were not earning those spots in the Ivy League schools, then why did our numbers stay the same? Go Come on. All right, listen, I don't want to turn this into such a negative thing, but these issues, they have to be addressed. We need to shine the light on them. I am the Lord Eric Steele, FBA all day. These are problems, and we're going to have to talk about them because they're not going away. These things do not just go away. So we have to talk about them. Again, keep sending in your questions. I'll keep addressing them. FBA all day. Lord Eric Steele. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Out.